Turns out the universe has a sense of humor, a bleak, cruel one that makes you want to punch it right in its imaginary face. And the gods? Oh, they exist. And they're complete assholes. I'm Zorn Tavik, the so-called Supreme Commander of the remnants of the Galactic Confederation fleet. Sounds grand, doesn't it? Until you realize those remnants are 14 heavily damaged cruisers, 27 barely functional fighters, and a repurposed luxury liner now serving as a field hospital. Commander Tavik, the Void Eaters have broken through the Aurelian system's outer defenses. My first officer, Kalonix, announced as she stormed into the command center. Her usually vibrant blue skin had gone pale, and her cranial tendrils were twitching. Never a promising sign. I let out a long sigh and downed a gulp of stimulant juice. Wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful. How long until they hit the evac point? 27 hours, sir, she answered. I slammed my fist against the holotable. That's not enough time. We've still got more than 4 million refugees waiting to be pulled out. Even if we crammed them in tighter than ration blocks, we'd need at least 48 hours. The look on Kala's face told me everything. We don't have 48 hours, sir. Of course we don't. Because when malevolent cosmic entities are annihilating entire star systems, the least they could do is be punctual. I snapped, then immediately felt the guilt wash over me. Kala wasn't to blame. I'm sorry, I said. She gave a small nod, her twitching tendrils easing a bit. The High Elders Council is asking for you, sir. Emergency session. I groaned. Naturally. Because if there's one thing this disaster desperately needs, it's more bureaucratic debate from people who've spent the last 400 years arguing over ceremonial dress codes, on interspecies handshake etiquette. The council chamber was chaos when I arrived. Delegates from the 17 remaining species of the Confederation were all shouting over one another, a barrage of clicks, whistles, resonant hums, and translated voices that slammed into me like a shockwave. And yet, Elder Pax Vantoy, a wizened scion whose once lustrous scales had dulled with centuries, cut through the noise without so much as raising his voice. Must be a skill they teach at High Elder School. Commander Tavik, we request your tactical assessment, he said. Instantly, the chamber fell into silence. I cleared my throat. We're doomed. A ripple of horrified murmurs spread through the room. You want the polished version? Fine. The Void Eaters have devoured 42% of Confederation territory. Over 600 billion sentient beings, gone. They don't respond to diplomacy. Our weapons don't slow them. Even our most advanced quantum disruptors barely make them blink. At this pace, the entire galaxy will be swallowed in under 3 standard years. There must be something we haven't tried, chirped Elder Ricky, a tiny Avon whose feathers were shedding under the strain. We could always ask them nicely to stop consuming the universe, I said dryly. But since they've ignored every attempt at communication and treat our most devastating weapons like appetizers, I wouldn't bet on it. Vantoy's inner eyelids twitched in frustration. Commander, this is no time for sarcasm. With all due respect, Your Eminence, when extinction's knocking at the door, sarcasm is one of the few indulgences we have left. That's when Elder Moro Thean, the Council's oldest and most revered member, finally spoke. The Vorax, his species, were known for their perfect memories and unbroken histories dating back over 50 millennia. There is one course we haven't yet explored, he said softly, voice barely audible. The silence that followed was absolute. You could hear the hiss of the ventilation system. No, Vantoy cut in at once. That path is barred by the ancient compact. What path? I asked, eyes scanning the room. Thean's 8 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of profound gravity among the Vorax. The humans. The word dropped like a warhead. Several elders gasped. One collapsed. Elder Ricky's feathers erupted into a cloud of sheer panic. Have you lost your mind? Vantoy spat. We vowed never to make contact with them again, not after Proxima Centauri, not after what they did to the Harvester fleet. I remember the records, I said quietly. Elder Theon broke the silence, his voice cutting through the tension. I was there, Vantoy. I witnessed what happened. And I'm telling you, we need them now. I glanced around at the frightened faces of the council. Could someone please explain what you're all talking about? Humans? I've never heard of them before. Elder Theon turned his gaze to me, his eyes ancient with wisdom. You wouldn't have. All records of them were erased. Their star system is sealed off, surrounded by automated warnings. By the Confederation's decree, and with the humans' agreement, we keep our distance. Why? I asked. Because they frighten the gods, Elder Thean replied, his tone grave. To give some context, our species doesn't speak lightly of gods. The Confederation acknowledges 11 transcendent beings, species that transcended their physical forms millions of years ago. They seldom engage with us mortals, but their might is unquestionable. They can manipulate stars, shape and destroy matter, and bend the laws of reality itself. And apparently, something about these humans terrified them. The Void Eaters have already consumed 2 of these transcendent beings, Elder Thean continued. The others have fled beyond the galaxy's edge. They've left us behind. But the humans didn't, I deduced. No, the humans fought, and they won, though it cost them dearly. Elder Vantoy slammed his staff down in outrage. This is heresy. The ancient agreement. The agreement no longer matters. Elder Thean roared, his voice unexpectedly strong for his age. None of it matters if we're all wiped out, Vantoy. The humans are our last hope. But how do we reach them if they're quarantined? I asked. I have the coordinates, Elder Thean replied, and the emergency contact protocols. The chamber erupted into chaos again, but I tuned it out, weighing our options. Essentially none. We could die, or we could take the chance to contact these unknown humans who somehow scared beings powerful enough to create solar systems. Do it, I said, decisively cutting through the noise. Send the message. 3 hours later, I stood alone in my quarters, staring out at the stars, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake in the Confederation's history. The message was sent, a desperate plea for help broadcast directly to a system called Sol. The door chimed. Enter, I said. Kala entered, holding a tablet. Sir, we've received a response from the human system. My heart skipped a beat. That was quick. What did they say? 1 word, sir. She handed me the tablet. The message simply read, coordinates. I almost chuckled. No greeting, no acknowledgement, just coordinates. Direct, practical, and slightly unsettling. I was starting to like them. Send them our coordinates for the Aurelian system and fleet position, I ordered. And Kala, put the fleet on high alert. I have no idea what to expect. Yes, sir, she replied, pausing at the door. Do you really think they can help us against the Void Eaters? I shrugged. According to the Council, they frightened immortal beings who can juggle stars. So either they're our salvation, or they're so terrifying that we'll be begging the Void Eaters to finish us off quicker. She didn't laugh, and I didn't blame her. The wait was agonizing. 6 hours passed with no sign of the humans. Meanwhile, the Void Eaters continued their destruction through the Aurelian system, devouring everything in their path, planets, stars, even distorting the very fabric of space-time. Commander, the sensor officer called out, we're detecting multiple spatial ruptures at the edge of the system. My stomach dropped. The Void Eaters? No, sir. The energy signature is different. I've never seen anything like this. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing an empty expanse of space. Then, reality seemed to tear apart, not the chaotic rifts caused by the Void Eaters, but precise, controlled rifts in space-time. And through these ruptures emerged ships. Human ships. They were wrong. That's the best way to put it. While our ships were sleek and elegant, these were bulky, angular, and armed to the teeth. Where our ships emanated the soft blue glow of hyperfield generators, these leaked ominous red energy from exposed power cores. They didn't look like ships. They looked like massive, fortress-like factories, built by someone who had a very aggressive interpretation of aesthetics. Sir, Kala whispered beside me, there are over 3,000 of them. Picked up readings that suggested the Void Eaters were emitting a low-frequency vibration, a form of distress or communication, perhaps. It didn't matter. They were in trouble now. The human weapons hit with such force that entire sectors of the Void Eaters' mass were obliterated in an instant. Their shapes distorted as the blasts tore through their forms, and the cosmic entities screamed in a way that sent chills through me, even without the sound. But these weren't just attacks. Every strike was calculated to destabilize the very fabric of the Void Eaters' existence, to rip apart their dimensional integrity. They were being dragged into a new reality, one where they weren't in control. The reality anchors were doing their job perfectly. The Void Eaters, once an unstoppable wave of annihilation, were slowing, their movements jerky and disjointed, like they were being pulled back into a space they didn't belong. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were rewriting the rules. I watched in awe as the human fleet continued its assault. More and more Void Eaters disintegrated into nothingness with every passing second. For the first time since this nightmare began, I could see a flicker of hope. Kala's voice broke the silence. "Sir, the Void Eaters are retreating." My mind couldn't fully process it. "Retreating?" "Yeah," she said, her tone almost incredulous. "It looks like they're trying to escape, but the anchors are holding them in place. They're losing." It was happening. The impossible was unfolding before my eyes. The Void Eaters, these incomprehensible, all-consuming entities, were losing, at the hands of the humans, of all things. The sensors flickered with energy readings I couldn't fully comprehend. "How are they doing this?" "It's the reality anchors," Kala said, her voice filled with awe. They've trapped them in a pocket where the Void Eaters can't escape. It's like they've completely redefined the battlefield." I stood in stunned silence, watching the impossible take place. It felt surreal. For years, we had fought and lost. Entire fleets were wiped out, planets destroyed, civilizations erased. And now we were witnessing the end of it. The human ships didn't stop. They pressed on, their weapons relentless. Another wave of Void Eaters fell apart in a burst of distortion and cosmic debris. And then, just like that, the last of them was gone. The chamber went quiet. The tension, the fear, the years of losing, it all evaporated in an instant. "Commander Tavik," Admiral Yoshida's voice came over the comm, calm but with a hint of satisfaction. "The Void Eaters have been neutralized. Your people are safe, for now." I could barely respond. All I could do was nod, my mind still struggling to process everything that had just happened. "Thank you," I finally said, my voice hoarse. "I don't know how you did it, but thank you." "Don't thank us yet," she replied, her voice light, almost teasing. "You'll be thanking us more when we finish this up and get you to safety. We're not done here, Commander. There's always more trouble on the horizon." I couldn't help but smile at her words. Maybe it was just the exhaustion catching up with me, or maybe it was the realization that, for the first time in a long time, we had a chance. A real chance. The human fleet continued to patrol the system, ensuring the safety of our refugees, while the Confederation tried to process the magnitude of what had just happened. I looked out at the stars once more, the vast expanse of the universe now looking less like a void of hopelessness and more like an opportunity. It wasn't over, not by a long shot. But now, for the first time, we had something the Void Eaters couldn't take away.